you struggle to speak fluent English? Do you know all the grammar rules, but still your English doesn't sound fluent? Do you get stuck while speaking English? If your answer to all of the above questions is yes, you have just clicked on the right video. In this English lesson series, I will teach you 50 smart English phrases for everyday English conversation. This is a 5-part English lesson series, and you are watching the first part in this series. Each lesson will cover 10 smart English phrases with example sentences for practice, so that you sound confident and fluent in English. I am Sara, a native English speaker, and my accent is the modified version of received pronunciation. That is the standard British accent. It would help you improve your pronunciation and listening skills. Sounds interesting? Let's get started. The first smart phrase I have for you is, you must learn to hold your tongue. You must learn to hold your tongue. This phrase could have multiple meanings. First, you should learn to remain silent. Second, you should learn to listen and not always talk. And third, avoid giving unnecessary information. You must learn to hold your tongue. Here are some example sentences. Once the customer has agreed to make the purchase, you must hold your tongue. Don't confuse them further. If you are into sales and marketing, this is the first rule they teach you while dealing with customers. Why don't you learn to hold your tongue and allow me to express my opinion? This might sound a bit rude, but sometimes you have to be direct and ask someone to shut up when they don't allow you to speak. But be careful while using it. Now it's your turn. I want you to practice using these smart phrases. Why don't you pause the video and write a sentence in the comments using these smart phrases? It would help you remember them faster. I would love to read your comments. Next up is, it's a far cry. What do you mean by, it's a far cry? An interesting phrase, isn't it? It simply means something is difficult to achieve. It could be a goal that looks difficult. It could also mean that success is far away. To vaccinate the entire world's population for coronavirus is a far cry. Don't you think vaccinating the entire world, that's 8 billion people, is a difficult goal? Even if we get a vaccine today, it's a far cry. Up next, this is awfully out of date. Something that is old and out of use is awfully out of date. I am sure it is simple to understand. Something that is not relevant today, or something that is too old to be used. Do you want me to use this computer? It's awfully out of date. No wonder why your phone isn't working. It's awfully out of date. Moving on, next up at number 4 is, you can be an agent of change. You can be an agent of change. This phrase is so motivating and encouraging. It means you can be a trendsetter, or you can change the system with your ideas. For example, don't be afraid to pitch your ideas. They are great. You could be the next agent of change. Apple is always considered an agent of change in the tech industry with their innovative product lineup. The next smart phrase is, you are in the cockpit. You are in the cockpit. Have you seen a plane's cockpit? Who is in charge of the cockpit? A pilot. This phrase means you are in charge of something, or you need to learn to control things. In short, you are the big boss. Isn't it a smart phrase? Let's look at some examples. With you in the cockpit, I assume we will succeed in this cutthroat market. Here, cutthroat means very competitive. I have taught you this word in the Stop Using Very lesson series. If you haven't watched it, there's a link in the description. I have taught you 50 advanced English words to use instead of very. So do watch it. It would help you improve your English vocabulary. Next up we have, don't dabble around here. Don't dabble around here. It means, do not mess around here, or do not fool around here. Or it could also mean, just don't be present casually, participate, or be helpful. For example, we are here to discuss a solution to our problems. Don't just dabble around here. Next on the list is, don't get tied up with old ideas. It's pretty simple to understand. Be ready and accept the change. Adopt a new way of thinking. Or it could mean, walk with the time. Interesting phrase, huh? I love using it all the time. If we have to succeed in business, we can't be tied up with old ideas. We need to invest in online marketing. Of course, as a business, you can't miss the online audience in this internet age. Here's the next one. I am prepared to meet you halfway. I am prepared to meet you halfway. This phrase is usually used in negotiations, and it means I am ready to make a compromise, or I am ready to make concessions for you. Let's understand it better with an example sentence. If you make the required changes to the product design, I am prepared to meet you halfway on the price. They settled the divorce argument by meeting each other halfway. Next up I have, go meet them eyeball to eyeball. Seems like a super encouraging phrase. Of course it is. It means be brave and fight it out. Go and face the situation, no matter how difficult it is. Rather than covering up the mess, meet the boss eyeball to eyeball and admit your mistake. Last but not least, if you don't know the answer, duck it. If you don't know the answer, duck it. Have you been in such a situation where you had to avoid answering a question? This phrase could be used as an advice. It means if you don't know the answer, avoid answering the question. Here, to duck means to avoid something. Be careful with what you say at the press conference. If you don't want to answer, just duck it and move on. The actor ducked all the questions about her involvement with the co-actor. That's all for today. I hope you found all these phrases useful and try using them in your conversations to speak English fluently and confidently. If you are new to the channel, subscribe and click the bell so that you don't miss any of my new English lessons. Hello and welcome to the part 2 of this 5-lesson series. I am Sara, your English coach. The first phrase I have for you is, he's a rough diamond. Have you seen a rough diamond? Do you think it's valuable? No, it's not, until it's polished and crafted well. This phrase means someone has a lot of talent and potential, but is rude and uncultured. Isn't it an interesting phrase? He's a rough diamond. Ryan is intelligent and trustworthy, but lacks sophistication. He is a rough diamond. With proper training, he would be an asset for the company. Now it's your turn. Try making sentences with these new English phrases. It would give you a good practice and help you remember these smart phrases better. I would love reading your comments. Next up I have, don't be a daft. Daft means silly or foolish. It's a British slang word. I often use it in my conversation to say, don't be silly or don't be foolish. In other words, you asking someone not to behave senselessly. Come on, don't ask me such a daft question. I have no time for it. At number 3 we have, try to unfold your mind. Try to unfold your mind. It means forget about the past. You can't change it. Look forward and think clearly. This phrase can be used to advise someone who is lost in the past. I understand you are upset about what happened. Try to unfold your mind. It's time to move on in life. Here's another interesting phrase. It's time you cut him loose, which means it's time you give him the freedom to act. In other words, to allow someone to make decisions. It also has a negative meaning, to fire someone from the job without any explanation. I think it's time to cut Ava loose. I am pretty confident she can manage the team all alone. They just cut me loose, with no explanation or no compensation. That's quite sad. Many people have been cut loose in this pandemic. Next up is, I need one more crack at it. It means I must try once again. I should give it another chance. When you have a gut feeling that you will succeed in the next attempt after failing at the first, use this phrase. I was so close to finding the bug. I need one more crack at it. I will get the app up and running. Do you know someone who always finds fault in everything? You can tell them, stop nitpicking. Someone who gives too much attention to unnecessary details. You call them a nitpicker. He's a kid. He will learn with age. Stop nitpicking about him all the time. If you spent less time nitpicking, I'm sure you'd get more work done. Do you know someone who's a nitpicker? Let me know in the comments. Next up, keep tabs on him. Keep tabs on him. It's simple to understand. You are asking someone to keep watch. It means to keep a track of what someone is doing. All social media sites keep a tab on the user behaviour. to show relevant advertisements. Next time, don't be surprised to see an advertisement related to your latest search on the internet, as most browsers keep a tab on your search history. At number 8, I have don't get carried away. I'm sure you must have heard this from your mum, dad, colleagues, or even your boss. It means don't be over-enthusiastic or don't be overexcited. Don't get carried away. You can't be lucky every time with the lottery. Next up, you must be snappy. I have very little time. Quite a useful phrase when you have to tell someone to come to the point without wasting time. You must be snappy. Just run me through the main points. I have very little time before I head to the airport. I love this phrase. You must be snappy. At number 10, you have to come to terms with it. It means you have to accept the reality. This phrase is usually connected to a sad situation. You are asking someone to gradually accept the reality. She took time to come to terms with her husband's sudden death. Well, you too have to come to terms with learning English. You can't get fluent overnight. Regular English speaking practice will help you achieve that goal faster. Let's quickly revise. He's a rough diamond. Don't be a daft. Try to unfold your mind. It's time you cut him loose. I need one more crack at it. Stop nitpicking. Keep tabs on him. Don't get carried away. You must be snappy. You have to come to terms with it. Hello and welcome to the part 3 of this English lesson series, where you learn smart English phrases for daily English conversations. In today's English lesson, I will teach you 10 more smart English phrases, but all of the phrases are related to someone's age. Let's get started. I am no spring chicken. What does it mean? I am no spring chicken. The other day, I went for a run with my brother and realised he couldn't even run for 2 miles. He started gasping for breath. It means he's no longer young. After taking the stairs, I realised I am no spring chicken. So instead of saying, I am no longer young, you could say, I am no spring chicken. Now it's your turn to write a sentence in the comments. It would help you remember these phrases faster. I would love to read your comments. Moving on. To be wet behind the ears. Interesting phrase, huh? Someone who is young and inexperienced, you can call them wet behind the ears. My assistant is a bit wet behind the ears. He still has a lot to learn. Of course, when you just start working after passing college, you are wet behind the ears and gradually gain experience. Next up at number 3 is to get on in years. To get on in years. When you start feeling you are getting old, you can say, I am getting on in years. You start seeing the signs of getting old. Ryan's worried he's getting on in years after spotting more grey hairs. Up next is, it bridges the generation gap. Generation here means a period of 10 years. So when something that appeals to people of all ages, it bridges the generation gap. This web series I saw the other day bridges the generation gap. The whole family loves it. At number 5, I have bright young things. This phrase is usually used to refer to people who are young, enthusiastic, fashionable, and ambitious. In short, young people who are full of energy, with great plans for the future. Listening to the ideas of the bright young things at the startup seminar made me realise that the country is filled with talent. Here's another one. In the prime of my life. In the prime of my life. When someone is at their best, they are healthy, successful, content with their life, or at the peak of their career. You can say they are in the prime of their life. I've just turned 35, and I'm in the prime of my life. I always go to the gym after work. Well, if you stay healthy, you will always be in the prime of your life. I work out at least thrice a week. What about you? Let me know in the comments. The next phrase is quite interesting. Twilight years. What do you mean by twilight years? Twilight means the time after the sunset before it gets dark. The soft glowing light you see in the sky when the sun is below the horizon. Here, twilight years refers to the last years of someone's life. Maria and Peter spent their twilight years travelling the world. Great thing to do. I would certainly love to do that in my twilight years. I would love to see every corner of the world. Have your parents ever told you to come of age and then take the car keys? Well, it means to reach maturity or have legal rights as adults. As soon as teenagers come of age, they rush to get a driving license. Next up, a ripe old age. A ripe old age. It's pretty easy to understand. It means a very old age. Someone who is very old. I was surprised to see them getting married at the ripe old age of 82. The next phrase is the exact opposite to the previous one. A tender age. You guessed it right. It means a very young age. Sally first sang on the stage at the tender age of 7. Some gifted children have more advanced abilities than others at a tender age. I'm sure you've heard about the 7-year-old Zora Bell, who developed a full mobile app video game. Another example is Ayush, aged 10, who became the youngest app developer at Apple's developer conference. I'm sure a lot of you might think, I wish I had started to learn English at a tender age. Let me tell you, it's never too late to learn anything. Get started now and become fluent in English in less than a year. You can do it. Let's quickly revise. I am no spring chicken. To be wet behind the ears. To get on in years. It bridges the generation gap. Bright young things. In the prime of my life. Twilight years. Come of age. A ripe old age. A tender age. Hello and welcome to the part 4 of this 5-part English lesson series. When something is easy to achieve, what do you say? It's easy. And when it's difficult, you say, it's hard to achieve. I was hoping you could stop using these basic English expressions and learn 10 smart English phrases to say something that is easy or difficult. That's the theme of today's lesson. Excited? Let's get started. The first smart phrase I have for you is, it was a clinch. When something is extremely easy to do, you can say, it was a clinch. Isn't it a much better phrase instead of saying, it was easy? The driving test I took last week was a clinch. I finished the test 20 minutes early. It was a clinch. Now it's your turn. Try making sentences with these new English phrases. It would give you a good practice and help you remember these smart phrases better. I would love reading your comments. When you start something new, a business, a new job, a new course, you may come across some initial problems at the beginning of the process. You call them teething problems. When babies start to teeth, they experience swollen gums and feel discomfort. That's where this phrase comes from. These are teething problems. There have been teething problems with the new computer application at work. Most startups run through these issues. They are nothing but teething problems. Don't worry. Moving on, we have, it's a tall order. When something is extremely difficult to achieve, you can say, it's a tall order. It's simple to understand, isn't it? Finishing the project in a month seems like a tall order. Finding a replacement for Ryan is going to be a tall order. He was good at multitasking. Next time, don't say, it's difficult. Instead, you could say, it's a tall order. Here's the next one. It has opened a can of worms. Have you come across a difficult situation that leads to another tough situation? So when you open a can of worms, you face multiple problematic situations. It simply means one situation leads to many other difficulties. Let's look at some examples. My home renovation opened a can of worms. The builders discovered so many problems. I shouldn't have left the car ideal for months. The repairs have opened a can of worms. I wonder how much I will end up paying. Have you ever faced a situation that is extremely difficult to deal with, and you seem to have no solution? Well, in such a situation, you can say, I am out of my depth. It merely means to be in a situation that is too difficult. I tried answering all the questions, but I was out of my depth at the meeting. 13 runs per over with just 2 wickets in hand. In 2020 cricket, it's not out of any team's depth. Next up, it's easier said than done. Sometimes it's easy to say than actually doing it. When something that seems easy initially, but is difficult to achieve, you can say, it's easier said than done. Learning to drive in 15 days. It's easier said than done. Of course, to be a better driver, you need practice. You can't be perfect at driving in a fortnight. Most companies are claiming to get the COVID-19 vaccine by the year end. But I think it's easier said than done. Moving on. He's teetering on the brink. We looked at phrases to describe a difficult situation, but when someone is in a situation that is dangerous and difficult at the same time, you can say, they are teetering on the brink. Many countries are teetering on the brink of a massive financial crisis due to the pandemic. Samantha is teetering on the brink of losing her job. Her boss has given her a final warning. I use this phrase quite often. Don't push your luck. Imagine a situation where someone asks you for a favour and you agree. But immediately they ask you for another favour. You can say, don't push your luck. It means, don't ask for more. Or, that's all I could do to help. I've already bought you a new iPhone. Don't push your luck. That's my final offer. Don't push your luck. Take it or leave it. Here's the next one. It's in the cards. It's in the cards. When there's a strong possibility of something happening soon, you can say, it's in the cards. Moving to New Zealand was always in the cards for Niharika. I was hoping for a promotion, but it doesn't seem to be in the cards right now. This phrase was about when there's a strong possibility of something happening, but what if something is unlikely to happen? You can say, it's a pie in the sky. That's our next phrase. It's a pie in the sky. It simply means something that is unrealistic and unlikely to happen. I think Maria's dreams of becoming a pop singer are totally a pie in the sky. Are you going to present these ideas to the investors? They seem like a pie in the sky. Well, learning English with me is not a pie in the sky. With regular practice, you will indeed speak English fluently and confidently. Let's quickly revise what you've learnt today. It was a clinch. Teething problems. It's a tall order. It has opened a can of worms. I am out of my depth. It's easier said than done. He's teetering on the brink. Don't push your luck. It's in the cards. It's a pie in the sky. Hello, my lovely English learners. Welcome to the fifth and the final part of this English lesson series. Today, I have 10 more smart English expressions that you generally come across in movies and web series. I have carefully picked these phrases so you could start using them right away to improve your English and sound smarter in English. Sounds interesting? Let's get started. If you are new to this channel, like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of my English lessons. The first phrase I have for you is, we got our wires crossed. Sometimes we misunderstand a piece of information and get confused. We got our wires crossed means to develop a misunderstanding or to be confused about something. In short, it means to mix up things. I am sorry for bringing you the wrong order. It seems we got our wires crossed. I think Lucy and Ryan's fight is just because they got their wires crossed. Now it's your turn. Try making sentences with these new English phrases. It would give you a good practice and help you remember these smart phrases better. I would love reading your comments. Next up, I have, it's not my place to say that. At times, you are not in a position to take a decision because you don't have the authority to do so. It's not my place means I don't have the authority, or it's above my level to clear it, or it could mean you don't have the right to do it. It's generally used in a negative sense. Here are some examples. It's not my place to say this, but you could make better money if you change your job. I'm just trying to help, and it's not my place to say this. You need to discipline your kids. The next phrase I have is, why don't you fill me in? Fill me in. It means, provide me with the latest information, or please update me about what happened when I was away. Why don't you get in the car and fill me in with what happened at work while I was away? Angie just filled me in on what happened at the seminar. Just fill me in about the episodes I missed, and we can watch it from here together. Next on the list is, you cannot undermine me. You cannot undermine me. To undermine someone means to make them less confident or less likely to succeed. But in everyday conversation, you could use it to say, to go around someone's back. Not physically, but to keep them in the dark about something. How can you undermine me and meet the investors all alone? Is there something I need to know? Ryan is trying to undermine her by spreading rumours about her in the office. If you don't stop nitpicking children, you can seriously undermine their confidence. Remember the phrase, stop nitpicking. I had covered it in part 2 of this lesson series. At number 5, I have, we need to pivot. The dictionary meaning of pivot is to turn or twist, but in conversations it could mean to change your opinion or decisions, to change the topic or to diversify. Let's look at some examples. The politician immediately pivoted when questioned about his involvement in the scam. We need to slightly pivot our business proposal so that it falls in line with the investors. The car pivoted on the divider and rammed straight into the sidewall. Here's the next one. I always take him with a grain of salt. There are people around who add up things and share information. You cannot trust them completely. Hence, you take them with a grain of salt. It means to not completely believe someone. You think someone is not sharing the whole truth. To not take something seriously. I take TV news with a grain of salt. They are all biased. I'll take anything he says with a grain of salt. He has a habit of exaggerating things. Up next is, she dished the dirt. Interesting phrases, huh? It means to share dirty gossip about someone. After leaving the company, Maria dished the dirt about inside politics in the management to her new boss. Well, it's not an ethical practice to do that. Here's another interesting phrase. I heard it from the horse's mouth. When you hear something from the horse's mouth, you hear something from the original source. It means you hear it from an important person who's in charge of making decisions. The company is planning to introduce a pay cut. I heard it from the horse's mouth. Next up is get it off your chest. Sometimes we keep some information to ourselves, and that makes us upset, or we start to worry a lot. You could use this phrase to advise someone to share something that is worrying and upsetting. Get it off your chest. You have been ignoring me lately. Is there something you'd like to get off your chest? I have to get this off my chest. I'm tired of your rudeness to me. Last but not least, I will answer the question that wasn't asked. Sometimes people are hesitant or shy to ask a direct question. Instead, they will ask you an indirect question. This phrase means, I will be direct and transparent. I will come straight to the point. Or it simply means be straightforward. Don't hesitate. Let me answer the question that wasn't asked. Don't expect a fancy salary raise this year. Let me answer the question that wasn't asked. Ria really likes you. Just ask her out for dinner. Isn't it an interesting phrase? To all my YouTube family, let me answer the question that wasn't asked. To get fluent in English, you need to use the language regularly. Only practicing English every day would make you speak English fluently and confidently. Let's quickly revise what you've learnt today. We got our wires crossed. It's not my place to say that. Why don't you fill me in? You cannot undermine me. We need to pivot. I always take him with a grain of salt. She dished the dirt. I heard it from the horse's mouth. Get it off your chest. I will answer the question that wasn't asked. I hope you found this lesson useful. Hit like, subscribe, and click the bell so that you don't miss such interesting English lessons. Keep learning English and take care. Bye.